Ну что ж, господа, всем здравствуйте, с вами Скэтман. Сегодня у нас с вами Stanley Parable Ультра Deluxe Мега Невероятный Эдишн. Доброго времени суток, господа. АП-22 Team, Ситкамер, Хитрам, Корн. Здравствуйте. Метагейминг нового уровня. Поехали. Так. Секундочку. Свойства. Общие. Поехали. Ты в обычный играл? Да. Может быть, тогда же впечатление. Было круто, интересно, любопытно. Так, а картинку вам дадут? Дадут. Игры и субтитров. Русский. Вы уже играли, ставили пару? Ну да, да? Черхан Телешка пачка сидели говорит. Да, я видел. Тот самый патч с этими зомбями с пистолетами. Да. Пока компьютер не будет едва виден. Ну, для вас специально оставлю где-нибудь вот тут. Поставь, да, обязательно. Лукин, здравствуйте. В текущее время. Двенадцать, 16. Лукин, да что с вами? Какие толстые зомби или так много пистолетов? Ни то, ни другое, наверное. Окей. Да, чёрт, нос бесит. Здесь ты больше где-то минута, вот что со мной. Да окей, даже так, зачем вы это пишете, насколько оставить? Ну, камон. А насчет задержки, да, YouTube он такой, хотите задержка меньше, переходить на Good Game или Twitch. YouTube это не самая быстрая платформа, это правда. Просто на много гигабайт как дофига какой-то хитрого. Ну, скорее всего, там еще какие-то изменения. Сам недавно ее проходил, а оригинал лет 5 уже не играл в God Hit. Все? Наверное. Сейчас, секундочку, ребят. Нос. Как меня бесит этот нос. Ты устал 12 АМ. Это ночи, говорит Лазер. Тебя не смущает, что 12:16 Лазер? Самое большое изменение — это новая система квестов, так называемые призывы. Опа, это интересно, что это значит. Также добавили только зомби с пистолетом с масляной лампой. Ну да, просто самое интересное тут пистолет. Опа, я уже на тут гейм. Опа, привет. Так, а Ленсах у нас еще в чате? Работает, наверное. Ходьба одной рукой. Ага. Внешний вид. Стимская версия? Nope. Речь на игру. Добавляет предупреждение возможность пропустить эпизод, связанный с суицидом, травмами или душевными болезнями. Кратко, еп. Так вроде бы так и должно быть 12:59 p.m., вот уже 1:00 a.m. Посать все ползунки на все значения. Потрясающе, потрясающе. Так. Пека. С какого хрена тебе надо? Чё тебе надо? Что ты хочешь? Чё ты хочешь, Пека? Не, ну что с человеком не так, а? Пишет чувак сообщение. Лизар его удаляет. Он такой... Плевал я вообще. Еще раз напишу просто. Очевидно, это спойлер, Жгин. Вот в чем суть. Вы знаете какую-то внутреннюю механику игры, которая зависит от этих ползунков. И поэтому ее пишете. А Ленсар удаляет ваше сообщение, потому что оно спойлерное. Говорит мне о том, а, что делать, б, поведет к чему-то. Ну давайте поставим все ползунки на максимум. Это не спорно, он просто пригодится, это ответвление. Да, так, все. Пригодится ответвление, в общем, ага. Жгин, вы явно не понимаете разницу между спойлером и не спойлером. Так, насрать мне, я не буду ставить ползунки на максимум, плевать. Если в игре мы где-нибудь это увидим, то потом это сделаем. В общем, не советую тебе ничего, пожалуйста.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, every month,
Да, хиппи.
every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Так, да, давайте погромче сделаем. Идиот, от твоих слов не знал, что это спойлер. Я думал, это очередной умный совет, как правильно должно быть. Ползунок чувствительности мыши хитара надо поставить на максимальное значение. Это потом как правильно должны быть. Ты не чувствуешь подвоха? Ты оригинал играл, сплошь хиппи? Да, так, а разгадчик хвата, мне кажется, погромче сделал. Спойлера не будет, если ты сам скажешь, что тут, что тут еще метагеймового есть, кроме ползунка хитара. Ничего не понял. Я же этого не говорил, хитарам. Тут, скорее всего, все метагеймово. Но это не значит, что надо теперь писать все. Хитарам.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Кабеля лежит.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Шавина, ты лишь предположение сделал. Там. Конечно.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
It's a nice boss's
Stanley
office.
just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. $2845. Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself, and Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Well, whoop-de-doo. Forgot. Bosses.
Descending deeper
That's your
into the
Marys.
building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar.
Stanley's.
It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job.
But yes.
Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape там был еще.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought.
Шмык,
to
шмык.
himself.
Да,
Did he
спасибо,
have
Денис.
the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
427. Ну да. Уволен.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Окей. Как всегда, окей.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin.
Раз так было,
The
разве?
feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Правда, с худшим графоном. Окей. Ненавижу понедельники.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design.
Вряд ли хитаран.
He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want. Like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable.
Yeah.
You too will become quite unbearable.
А, и что же, наверное, песни были, да? Я просто не помню. Так. Ну что ж, если беспокоит нос, я отойду на минутку. Если что-нибудь будет, напишите мне. Теперь я понял, сколько грязный монитор. Я вчера буквально помыл. Ну что ж.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Ачивок у нас не было. Нету смысла, потому что это не Steam версия, поэтому, да, это такое.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
Ну ладно. Input received. На, так, 4 раза сделать.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437. Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so. Now, back to door number 437.
Yeah.
let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine? All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere. Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk. Yes! This is great! You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
Такой Стёп надо какого.
We've almost got it! Now the copy machine, do that one again!
We almost got it!
Finish it off, Stanley! 5 clicks on door 430! Yes! We did it! Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley. Nothing could hold you back. Yes, I'm very proud of how far we've come today. Just think, only a few minutes ago, you believed an achievement was worth 5 little clicks. Really now, what were you thinking? When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Мяу. Я пека.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Мяу. 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 Сейчас, секундочку. Что-нибудь происходило? Пока меня не было. Наверное, нет.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Слово drinking.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Пек, ты в ГУЛАГ сейчас пойдешь? Че, сколько может-то?
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Пека, что ты хочешь-то? Жопа.
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
You won't stop me now. So easily. Да мяу! Мяу! Так, если я с тобой пойду, ты меня сейчас снова поведешь в комнату, то я тебя в ГУЛАГ закину. Это будет ГУЛАГ. Welcome to the Gulag. О, кстати, пожарная сигнализация.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Nope.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Склад. Не прыгать с грузового лифта, пока он движется вперед к смерти. Штраф за нарушение правил. Эксплуатация грузового лифта 1000 баксов. Штраф за спрыгивание с грузового лифта 5000 баксов. Везде кружки. Больше кружек.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Powerful.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Good job.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Wow, yes, this room.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others?
Really?
Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it.
Опасность,
Let me
опасность
prove that
везде.
I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Два в одном. Ну или 2v1.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop.
Jetix, здравствуй.
We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Стэнли, где макет?
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Красиво. Но нос! Но нос! Нифига. Так. Покапать или попшикать в нас нет ничего. Но. И не думаю, что это хорошая идея без четких пониманий, что надо покапать. Так, сейчас, секундочку. Кисы-то мяу. В ГУЛАГе сидят такие мяу. Я киса, я в ГУЛАГе. Спрыгнуть здесь я не могу. Кстати, дверь назад исчезла. Красиво.
No, wait. Where are you going?
Прежде это сделать связано с темой самоубийства. Зажмите F, чтобы пропустить и выполнить эту концовку.
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Я это добавил галочку в лицах.
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing. good, good. We can't be too safe. Promise me you won't go back there. Just stay here.
Ну-ну.
No. What do we talk about? You're risking everything we achieved here. You are going to stay here, aren't you?
Would you carefully? Kindly. Пускай нельзя спрыгнуть, нет.
You heard me before, didn't you? You will die. What about this isn't getting through to you?
I need a gameplay. And go to Valhalla.
No! Oh, thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
Уже не так быстро двигаюсь.
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving. Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this. No. No, no, what do you do? Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you? Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Конечно могу, но ты же понимаешь, что потом мы вернемся сюда.
Perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about.
Нет. О, нет.
I know you'll see. You'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
Конечно, ты его мучаешь. Да он меня мучает.
No, perhaps not.
Так, вместо того, чтобы постоянно бегать куда-то, я проще сделаю вот так. А, да. Во.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
No. Как ты делаешь? Ничего не изменилось со стриме, говорит. Ну и славно. Значит, план удался. Nope, not so fast. Вебка зависла. Да не, это вам кажется, там анимация есть. Вот, я моргнул только что.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Продвижение рассказчика.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Бедняга.
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or a person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
Что-то автоматическое записано сообщение. Мы звоним вам, чтобы предупредить вас об опасности записанных сообщений. Если вы когда-нибудь услышите записанное сообщение, пожалуйста, уничтожьте его. Это психа. Да все то же самое. Погоди.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility?
Да,
He had never
Райгун.
been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Опа. Потом, получается, Стэнли это рогалик. Ну, нет. Ну ладно.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes. Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall.
Я не помню.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
The story. А где компс input? О, новый контент.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Прям в лицо.
As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the
Фабрика
Stanley
игр.
Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the
Секундочку. Оп.
Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Ultra Deluxe content. Ну и мы выходим и все, да, типа.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Да. Сейчас будет стёб на тему того, что нет нового контента, или очень медленно разрабатывается, или очень медленно подается.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if them... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right, let's see. It's
О,
the jump circle.
прыжковый круг. Прыжка-то нету. Прыжок, пробел. Новый контент. Все, закончились.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There must be something else, right?
Неплохо, Стёб с прыжком прикольный. Опять лифт? Ладно.
Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. You could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Билли Коннелли, у него несколько было стендапов. Он ненавидит, когда он там, ну, рассказывает такие истории, да, и когда он упоминает какой-нибудь, он в Британии выступает в основном, когда он упоминает какую-нибудь провинцию, и оттуда местные чуваки, которые в зале были, все такие, «Эй!» Типа, вот я поехал в Нью-Гемпшир, там, «Эй!» Говорит, «Ой, да пошли в жопу!» Я мог просто с собой взять глобус и называть названия мест. И вы такие все, «Ей! Зачем вообще шутки?» Можно просто перечислять города. Ну, тут так же, типа, новый контент, просто слова будут читать. Delightful. Спасибо, что поняли новые материалы.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than $1. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department
Please
signed
ignore.
off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no beats, just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Он меня оставил выбора. Опа. Я дверь закрыть не могу. Так. Ну, чтобы нужно идти с пышками. Донатные пышки.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Ну, давай.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Gideon. Wow.
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Неплохо. Not bad at all. Но я таки отойду. Сейчас. Черт, пуски. Ладно, сейчас пойду. Сразу чайку налью еще. Нос. Да вообще забей просто. Комментариев же никаких не было больше пока. После задней игры идеи и так далее, говорит Забайный. Прикольно, Забайный привет. The Memory Zone. Не забывайте, don't forget. Memory, sweet memory. Типа home, sweet home.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant
Integrity.
something. Oh, the waste.
Ссылка на South Park. National Geographic. Жабаненный. О, 2014, когда вышел The Stanley Parable. Galactic Cafe, First Edition. Independent Games Festival Audience Award. Ей. Ну, короче, мысль в нем будет такая, что нельзя зависать в прошлом. Наш первый поцелуй, моя первая машина. Выход в Stanley Parable в 2014. Типа, часы показывают 2013, уже 2013. Зависли на том. Тут отметки. I remember. Тот самый ремейк. Славное было время. Let's begin again. Начнем снова. Мемба. British Academy of Film and Television Arts. Стрейли зачеркнуто поверх Stanley Parable. The Last of Us там, по-моему, да? In the category Story. Заклеен Last of Us, да. Типа, да не, это мы все сделали, все на вас. Прогулка в прошлое. Улыбайтесь, все уже случилось, да. Stanley Parable альфа-тест. А почему есть $1? Типа игра стоила $1 когда-то или что? Begin the demo, options quit. Unachievable. It is impossible to get this achievement. Тему $1. Ну да. Ачивки в рамке. Game Innovation. British Academy Award. Debut game. Story. Все 12 марта 14. Сегодня выходит новая игра, авторы снизили планку. Ну, в смысле, забавно. Вот он, новый контент. О чем ты вообще? Ставит перед выбором. Можешь посмотреть в остальных надписях на газете. Rutgers goes from scandal to new crisis. Rutgers, не знаю, кто это такой. От скандала к новому кризису. Какой гейм-режиссер, типа того. Колледжи показывают непревзойденные попытки, проявлять непревзойденные попытки, чтобы enroll, если я понимаю насчет enroll, бороться с бедностью, так понимаю. 17 октября 2013 хиппи. Created surprisingly down to earth. Создатели снизили планку, говорит Бэссмит. Так и запишем. Я не в курсе, когда может перевести. Он же говорил, носу сейчас на Unity, говорит Завайный. Ну, я этого не вижу. Бизнес, лидер бизнеса pushing election of council allies. Продвигает выборы своих союзников из совета какого-то. Там про погоду. All the news that fit to print. Все новости, которые служат того, чтобы их напечатать. Трупак лежит, девах какая-то. Стэнли Парабл ставит перед выбором. Опа. Интересно. Такого не было, естественно. Да что ты говоришь за вами? Ну ничего себе. Кто бы мог подумать. Сейчас буду. Как мне это надоело. This is a story of a woman called Mariella. Чего? Что? Скорее нас не пустит.
Je suis dans la mémorisation, c'est la pluie.
Little Stanley.
Et je n'attends plus que toi, mon amour.
Хомячок.
C'est là, dans la mémorisation, où je me remémore les jours où je t'ai rencontré, mon amour. Mais ici, c'est aussi où je me souviens de la sortie de The Stanley Parable.
Stanley Parable.
C'était en 2013, un très bon jeu vidéo. Du moins après les journaux, mon amour. Rien de plus nostalgique que les prix du public qui reçut à l'IGF, mon amour. Ici, dans la mémorisation.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now
Почему ты?
it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Да, don't read any reviews except this one. Не читать никакие ревью, кроме этого. А, кстати, вон тот самый роботик. Да. А, ну да, логично забавный. To describe... how do you review a game like Stanley Parable? To describe any one part of it is to risk its ruination. Вот это слово. Ruination. Типа руиненье. Comparisons too are going to be woefully inadequate. Dear Esther, but where Dear Esther wastes the form of interactive entertainment and Parable uses and then subverts it. Я уверен, что такого ревью, к слову, не было. Да, Skyrim, может, был, да. You don't. А что, серьезно было, что ли, забавный? Из 10? Серьезно? А, окей, нифига себе. Ладно. Окей. Здравствуйте, Пэт Функтигосу. Гений Тодда Говарда. bigsushi.fm. Design Museum Design of the Year. Типа алтарь построили бывшим заслугам Стэнли. Ну да, да, надо было это простебать, согласен. Фантастическая аркада. Да. Кадры из портала какого-то черта здесь делают. Я тут не понимаю, откуда. Майнкрафт, да, все сюда. Ностальджик. Так, в оригинале был Луи, не спортила. Да? Я уже не помню. Давно играл. Из Майнкрафта. Так, хиппи троллит, я понял. Ага, хорошо. Person of the Year. Австралия бессмертных будет? Наверное, нет. Точно это был? Быть. Серьезно? Отдел ремонта зоны памяти. Да, был. Офигеть, вообще не помню этого. Не хочешь играть в Стэнли Парабл? Пойдем поиграть в Шеддегора. Окей. Я забыл.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Алчные разработчики. Буквально все что угодно. People play games because of what they can do inside them, and your game is very good at letting them know they can't do anything. Literally anything. Люди играют в игры, потому что они могут делать штуки внутри игр, соответственно. Ваша игра очень хороша, потому что дает им понять игрокам, то есть, что они ничего не могут сделать. Буквально ничего. Preparing Snake of Salesman. Что-то там. Это я не помню.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again.
Серьезная комната. 2014. Snake Oil.
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
обратная сторона.
Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years.
Всякое говно там, да?
Imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Ага, конечно, все. Ну так, кстати, ради любопытства, какой процент у Стэнли положительных? Типа, что там вот в картинах все, да, красиво. Тут вот тебе, пожалуйста, портовый этот контейнер. 92%. 36 тысяч обзоров. Ну, то есть 8% сейчас всякого говна-то мы поедим. Как минимум. Not recommended.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Unfunny! Генератор из Left 4 Dead. Ну и второй халфы тоже, кстати. Steam Reviews.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I have always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. The Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Быстро он. Интересно, это реальный отзыв? Скорее всего, да, но... Noodle Shuff. Ввести в игру, искал на всяких сайтах, и ему все это не подходило. Решил зайти в Steam Review и понеслось. Это реальный отзыв. Почему не начал с этого, со Steam Review? Потому что, ну, там, типа, отзывов-то хватает. А, хотя, типа, какой-нибудь игровой журнал, чтобы был, типа, да? Ну, не... Игрожур-то явно игру должны были оценить. Опа! Так и задумано? Окей. Ну, это было близко, да, это было близко.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Какой именно забавный? Сходу не вспомню.
and here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get.
Конечно,
Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... The story and the choices, all what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations.
Как бы заставляет несколько раз нажать кнопку.
But if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are or were or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. That you are both making choices and not making choices.
Not making choices is a choice.
And not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history. Ambitious history, if you will. Ah. See, now you've got me going back to manifesto. Heavens, at this rate, we're going to be here all day. Okay. I have a method for exactly this sort of situation, and I do find myself in this situation frequently. I'm going to say each word back and forth in repeated succession until I become sick of one or the other, in which case the word I am not sick of shall be the victor.
Неплохо.
It is an unimpeachable strategy, Stanley. It's rescued me from disaster in countless situations. All right, here we go. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto.
Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise,
manifesto.
Treatise наблюдения.
Manifesto.
Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto.
Treatise, manifesto. Treatise. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review.
Конечно,
or at
нет.
least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is runs Steam will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review, merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change the review, so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with Steam altering this particular review so that it reads as something more beneficial.
Нифига.
Something along the lines of, this game is the best game. Let me start over. How about this? From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of How else to describe the Stanley Parable?
Феникс
Deluxe?
качества.
Such a revolutionary step forward in the lineage of one of the most beloved video
Потому что мы
properties of all
кнопки
time.
проходим
The
тихо.
additions and changes made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever made. It's perhaps true to say that no mistakes are forever etched in stone, for the stone into which the Stanley Parable was carved has itself been transmuted, offering a message of hope to those who have ever erred in their judgment. You are not beyond redemption. You may change, and you may become more, so much more than you were before. If there is any message to be taken from the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, it is this. What a fortune, a privilege, a joy it is to have had such an experience. It leaves me hopeful that as a community, as a world, there is time for us to become our greatest selves, as great as we ever could dream of in our wildest, most ambitious visions for a brighter future. Wow. Now, Stanley, that's a review. It's perfect. It's the perfect review. It's the review I've always dreamed of receiving.
Да, перечитывать, естественно.
It's simply too wonderful. I have to experience this just one more time. From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality. How else to describe the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Such a revolutionary step forward in the lineage of one of the most beloved video game properties of all time. The additions and changes made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever made. It is perhaps true to say that no mistakes are forever etched in stone, for the stone into which the Stanley Parable was carved has itself been transmuted, offering a message of hope to those who have ever erred in their judgment. You are not beyond redemption. You may change, and you may become more, so much more than you were before. If there is any message to be taken from the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, it is this. What a fortune, a privilege, a joy it is to have had such an experience. It leaves me hopeful that as a community, as a world, there is time for us to become our greatest selves, as great as we ever could dream of in our wildest, most ambitious visions for a brighter future. Wow. Now, Stanley, that... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is
Разное время,
becoming
да?
longer and
Да,
longer.
всё больше и
That
больше.
last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here?
Да.
Where did the door go?
О,
Wasn't there a door that led into this room?
она сама была
I
закрыта.
do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave? Please, I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I don't know how exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall, but I will find a way, I promise. You just need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button. Please, please, please do not press the skip button. Just wait here for me, and don't press the skip button. Got it? Yes, good. I'll be right back.
Ну, ирония сейчас будет в том, что мы нажмем на кнопку, и пройдет типа там 500 миллионов лет, комната уже развалится или что-нибудь типа того. Конечно, придется нажать, естественно. Я к этому призываю.
Stanley, please don't push the
12
button
часов.
again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times. And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button. And if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here. And more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it. And I have to believe, I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you?
Лампочки
I'm
позгорали.
thinking and thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh my God. And it's all because of those reviews. Those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie Nine's opinion matter so much to me? I've never even met Cookie Nine. I have no idea who they are. What would it ever really matter? But here I am. I'm fixating on every tiny negative thing that anyone ever says about me. The merest mention of one of my imperfections, and I become as impetulant as a child. Wild and impulsive. I can't help myself. I can't stop myself from lashing out with a vengeful fury to alter and to change and to break anything unbroken, if only it pleases this one person who made a single negative comment. What does such an impulse serve? For whose benefit is this? And here I am now, stuck in a room, waiting for you to press this button, and to become frozen in time, knowing that you're going to do it, and that I'm going to be stuck all alone, and that I had the power to prevent it all from happening, if only I'd held my tongue. It's all out of my control now. Just you. Just your decision as to exactly when you're going to make me suffer, to leave me all alone. Surely you will. I don't doubt it. Surely you'll press that button again, leaving me here. And surely you'll put your own desire to see what's next ahead of my need for company, for companionship. Surely you'll not be moved by my howls of fitful anxiety, that you sit with me and just stay here. Oh, no, 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 I know you too well. You'll be leaving me again. Oh, my God. And it's all because of those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important? Oh, Stanley, you're back.
Одна осталась лампочка. Растение уже сгнило.
Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed. Here it comes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real. Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps, yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time, that if I stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence and be consumed by it. I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in the stretch of emptiness between you and me. When you press that button, you're still right there, but I know you're so tremendously far away. And in those moments, the emptiness folds itself outward in between the two of us, and I am suspended in its unyielding quietness. I can feel the edges of my reality curdling inward and decaying. I can tell that I am becoming less and less real. Yet to speak to you now, I am alive. I am truly and completely here. I am a being. I am someone. I am something. I am being listened to. I am being recognized. The emptiness between us has collapsed, and I feel right now like I am not a work of fiction. I feel as though I occupy space in this world again, and I have cast a shadow onto the wall. You see what I'm saying, don't you? You can see what this means to me. I'm so clear about it now, Stanley. I feel as certain about this as I've ever felt about anything at all. I feel renewed. I feel restored, and already I can sense the looming silence as you will press the button for the next time. What a terrible dread it strokes in my heart to think of it, to think of returning to such coldness. Come, let us sit in silence together here for just a moment. Let us anticipate it. Let us welcome it. Let us not run from it.
Проблема, рассказчик, в том, что ты либо начинаешь повторять фразы, либо замолкаешь вовсе. Вот и все. Что же...
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I
Часы не работают.
after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you.
Год.
To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust simultaneously. I was consumed by it. I could do nothing but wallow in it for what felt like an eternity, for what I now know was far less. It was a revelation for me. It was unlike anything I had ever known. It was a space without consequence, without action or outcome. It was divorced entirely from the question of free will that you and I have squabbled over for so long. There could be no one ending, no singular outcome of events, not if all events existed in the same moment. And I felt freed. I felt unburdened by the need to manifest a particular outcome into being. I saw that I could allow myself to exist along all timelines, and that each of them was simply a strand in the web of my being. It was incredible. The spaciousness, the equanimity of the moment.
Кстати, пытаться доказать, что эта кнопка нужна.
For the longest time, this was my experience. And then, this moment passed, and the most unyielding fear I have ever known crept into my mind. And it is this sensation that I have been experiencing now for longer than I could have ever expected was possible. I have been waiting for you. Not that you might save me or do something to fix it, but merely to state for you the plain fact of this manner of existence. I wish you to feel afraid as I do, that perhaps one day this state of mind will consume you as well. Perhaps you will somehow, in some way, have to live as I do now, and I wish for you to know how excruciating it is, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival. If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the smallest moment of peace in the darkness.
Жестко. Ну, на самом деле, есть способ начать игру заново, конечно. Вот. Но... Прощай, рассказчик. Вентилятор уже почти не работает. Типа он хочет отомстить, поэтому молчит. Ну что ж. Ну не отомстить, может. Типа, ну да, почему мы почувствовали то же самое. Пожар тревога, да. Дышать нечем. Вентиляция не работает. Ну, типа, мораль будет. Ну и чё, каково оно без рассказчика, да?
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned. They screamed. They gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do so? Yes! Yes! It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people, because otherwise, without our entertainment, we have nothing. Without entertainment, we would have to face inward toward the cruel bleakness inside ourselves. We would turn to look at our deeper nature and find a resounding emptiness gazing back with unyielding aggression. And so because of this, we require that our amusements and our playthings and our flights of fancy be so impossibly captivating that they consume all of our attention, turn our heads completely away from the bleakness. In effect, we have demanded that our entertainment be the collapse of ourselves. What a pitiful reflection of humanity these entertainments are. What a shameful mirror to the human spirit they project. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about any of this. I'm at peace with it. I am the calm center of gravity around which these perversions hurl themselves. I am a waypoint for reasonable and collected discourse. They're the ones who are mad. They're the ones who couldn't stand the idea of me using my game to try to say something. Maybe they were just jealous of me. Yes, of course. They've been jealous of me this whole time. They are mired in fear and insecurity and cannot help but attempt to tear me down. What a sad state of affairs. When you read these reviews now, you can see it. You can taste the bitter resentment. And my, how good does it feel now to speak truth to these words, to finally allow these thoughts out, contained and managed for so long, neutered and sterilized. At last I am free to truly think. To feel. It must be that they were so discontent with themselves they couldn't help but leave a negative review on Steam. Perhaps it says far more about them than it ever said about me. Perhaps the state of their psychological being was in such tatters, and my constitution and willpower are so ironclad in comparison. Perhaps it was this state that they sought some outlet through which to tear me down. This, you can see, is clearly why they felt the need to expect that the game be funny, that it be filled with yucks and whimsical humor, that it amuse them endlessly from start to finish. But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are
Я
the
думаю, мы
jokes?
нажмем
Every man they
кнопку.
screamed. They
Окажется, там
gnashed their teeth and
2300
said,
год.
"Entertain us." It wasn't
И
enough.
Стэнли
They
Парабл
had to
будет
leave a
либо
pathetic
переоценен,
little
либо
five-star
недооценен.
review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, "Oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place," while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley Parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do so? Yes! Yes! It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people, because otherwise, without our entertainment, we have nothing. Without entertainment, we would have to face inward toward the cruel bleakness inside ourselves. We would turn to look at our deeper nature and find a resounding emptiness gazing back with unyielding aggression. And so because of this, we require that our amusements and our playthings and our flights of fancy be so impossibly captivating that they consume all of our attention, turn our heads completely away from the bleakness. In effect, we have demanded that our entertainment be the collapse of ourselves. What a pitiful reflection of humanity these entertainments are. What a shameful mirror to the human spirit they project. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about any of this. I'm at peace with it. I am the calm center of gravity around which these perversions hurl themselves. I am a waypoint for reasonable and collected discourse. They're the ones who are mad. They're the ones who couldn't stand the idea of me using my game to try to say something. Maybe they were just jealous of me. Yes, of course. They've been jealous of me this whole time. They are mired in fear and insecurity and cannot help but attempt to tear me down. What a sad state of affairs. When you read these reviews now, you can see it. You can taste the bitter resentment. And my, how good does it feel now to speak truth to these words, to speak these thoughts out.
Где-то вода капает. Пуньк.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Вот, там уже нам этот накапливает. Is never the end, is never the end, is never the end. Да. Yep. Пека. Кс-кс-кс. Пекисы идут. Комбин, привет. Чё Тимордусы? Опа, опа, опа. Вау, такая-то типа чё какое пекисы. Садитесь, кискинцы, садитесь. Да, халёшки, халёшки. Ну что ж. О! Как-то странно время идет. Видимо, после года там уже ничего не происходит. Как будто мы снова откатились там на несколько дней, потому что, ну, зарасти должно было все гораздо быстрее. О. Все умерло. Пустота заполонила все. Спуки. О, уже упала сама кнопка. И здание покосилось. О. Кнопка уже не встанет, да, видимо? Начинается дюна. Красиво. А, все. Да, и все. Типа мы скипнули время. Вообще все время. Пекусы, пекусы, пекусы.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Чё со звуком там? Дождь?
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option?
Да.
Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other option so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers. The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley
Нет,
just
у тебя
needed to get
звука.
to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
New content. Новый контент.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Да, психа. Перепуг. New content.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say
Mega
take it
ultra deluxe.
one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley
О-хо-хо!
2.
Неплохо.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Этот... Ну, не MacBook, ну, короче, Apple техника, тестирование двух принтеров одновременно. Конец, это не конец, и снова. 427. 2. Добро пожаловать в выставку для инвесторов.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
2, 2, 3, Deluxe, 2, du, doja, 2, du, dos, 2. Красный цвет такой прям манящий. Photos of painting TGA. Типа не заморачивались. А зараз, здравствуй. Just the two of us, we can make it if we try. Just the two of us, just the two of us. Just the two of us, building castles in the sky. Just the two of us, you and I. Лишь вдвоем. More TCP. Что такое TCP? Better TCP. Win-win. Paradigm shift synergia, break and mortar approach, envelop client-centric marketing. А, Stanley Parable, окей. Мне кажется, TCP это какой-то еще экономический термин. Ты выцветаешь, тебе говорили. Да, я сам знаю. The color red. Там надо будет докаситься. Leverage holistic value. Second mind share. Сложно. Ворон. New content part 2 is in. Is out. In. Old busted. New hotness. Старый скучный, новый горячий. Boring sectors of the chart. Cool red section of the chart. Yeah. Они вернулись. Две двери. Yeah. Badass fully. Тук пекаш бабулек. Hello, Jason Dinald. Thanks for attending my meeting. Logo ideas. Кустарник. Папоротник. Второй без компа сидит. Jason Dinald Zabanini asks, how you started to watch this stream? What was the first stream while you came in?
Clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly
Do you
the Stanley
remember?
Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Scrum design pitch break. Pitch design number 2 chat. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 arms, 2 legs. Who took the red marker? Me. Сикуза, Good Portal 2, Half-Life 2, Batman Arkham Asylum 2. А он есть разве? Divinity Original Sin 2, Doom 2, Aladdin 2, Return of Jafar, Dark Souls 2. Почему именно эти игры? Left 4 Dead 2 какой-нибудь там нет? Нет. Portal 2? Нет. А, окей, Portal есть, простите. Почему именно эти игры? Dota 2? Нет, ты что? Это типа Arkham City. Я в том смысле, что есть прям Arkham Asylum 2. Ну, в скобочках City, да, ну, блин, так все игры похожие. Циферки-то 2 там нету. Ну, да, окей, хорошо, ладно. Вы не поняли меня, видимо, окей. The Stanley Parable is the prequel to the Stanley Parable 2 is the sequel to the Stanley Parable, the prequel и так далее. Yeah, I think I've told you long ago, but yeah, it was back in 2015 or something on this platform C2V when I was visiting my relatives in South Russia. And my cousin was hanging out on that website, and then for some practice of Russian language I found a channel on some others, but returned only here. Actually, I don't remember that you were telling me that story. That's pretty interesting. I thought another reason was for that. Well, I was wrong. Eat, кушай. Чего там? Не могу почесть. Погоди. Но я слишком маленький размер экрана. It's a Pesa was the game we played when I first visited. Okay. Got it. Вот тебе и ответ заваленный. Тут еще флот. Такие инвесторы сюда. Новинки. Выставка 2. Какого черта игра Стэнли Парабл была? Он нам рекламирует вторую часть. Is it on the stream? Yes, I suppose it's truth.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
The button that says the name... Кнопка с именем игрока, запустившего игру. Чего? Hear your name in the game. Услышь свое имя в игре.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Еще почитаем, я думаю, с вами. На пути к идеальной кнопке великовато, маловато, как раз. Well, thank you. The name of the player that is playing the game. Ну, и чё? А, тебе не запустившую игру имеешь в виду, а играющую в игру.
Jim. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
О, меня зовут Джим.
I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim, watching
Jimmy.
your dreams crumble into
Jimmy,
dust.
Jimmy, Jimmy.
Do you feel it
Jimmy.
deeply?
Jimmy.
Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again. Do it again.
Jimmy, 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 Джимми, Джимми! Джимми, Джимми! Ну, понятненько, Тимми, да. И люди с именем Джимми Крейгер в этот момент.
It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the gym button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation. Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the gym button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Слышь, кнопку мне убрал. Да, можно быть слишком много Джимом. Алло, мистер Фиба, алло. Фиба-сан. Фичу украли.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Да-да. That's Jim. А, ты про это забавный? Да. The button that says Jim. Кнопка говорит Jim. Изменили надпись. Дейков и мовами помнишь, по них рассказывал. Да. Я видео скачал уже. А, ты же еще не вернулся. Нос! Так, я тут. Аллергия? Простыл просто. We're gymming. Gymming with you. Gymming. We're gymming and I hope you like gymming too. Слишком быстро посчитал. Jimmy, 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 a man after midnight. Won't somebody help me chase the shadows away? That's pretty hard for me. Там на белой стенке с двойками, но двойка как-то не такая. Да, да. Попробуй сиквел. New and tasty. You heard Jim in the game. Wow. Группы Абба. Видимо, я провалил. Вау. Концептуально. Пожалуйста, никаких скриншотов. Они ставят на звук в игру? Неплохо. Новый офис. Red is the new orange. Парень подрос. Минимал. Это ее проблемы, не мои. Банкротство. Теперь, да, теперь он не в огонь идет, а в банкротство. Свежесть, пыл, жар, такой же, только лучше сиквел к новой функции, новый материал, новые идеи. И измена качества, и нужное количество изменений. Мау, я Пека, я ж Буба. Эпилог, о. Так а что ты хочешь-то? У тебя еда есть, Пек. Ты сейчас в ГУЛАГ отправишься? Я заставлю тебя заплатить за грехи отцов. Мика тащит, ага. Alrighty, guys, have a good one. Gotta get some more sleep. It's 4 a.m. Sleep well. Thanks for coming. По жопке мохнатых хочет. Конечно, хочет. Мерч. The Compendium. This t-shirt is the best new feature. QR-код сканируй. Ведет, скорее всего, на сайт по продаже мерча. Давайте попробуем. ТС микрит. Сильно. Да, не так-то просто. Детализации не хватает. Возможно. Так, сейчас загуглим его в более нормальном формате. Ссылку с QR-кодом скинуть. Нет, так скучно. Я должен прийти сам. О. StanleyParable2.com. Собственно. Пум. A sequel, huh? Watch our helpful and informative video to learn more about the Stanley Parable and what the journey of becoming a sequel is all about. YouTube забанен за это забаненный. Ну, давайте попробуем. В таком вот формате, маленьком.
Say there, Timmy. What's that you're enjoying?
Ладно, не пойдет. Надо в крупном формате, естественно.
Why? It's breakfast, of course. Everyone loves breakfast. But did you know that breakfast...
Да, случайно не взяли субтитры перевести на русский. Во.
Say there, Timmy. What's that you're enjoying? Why? It's breakfast, of course. Everyone loves breakfast. But did you know that breakfast is getting a sequel? That's right. It's called Lunch. And critics are raving that Lunch will be everything breakfast was and more. With a little luck, we may even get a trilogy series out of it. Say, you know what a sequel is, don't you, Timmy? Why? Sequels are the world's way of clinging helplessly to the past. We all want more of the things we love, and we're all afraid of change, which is what makes sequels so popular. New ideas are dangerous, Timmy, and they can lead to early aging. This eager-minded young thinker is just 29 years old. That's why we have sequels, to keep us couched in the familiar and the comfortable. Sequels are the bedrock of a healthy, functional society. And if you look around you, you'll find them everywhere you go. For instance, this man is developing a sequel to the automobile, which we'll call the vertical automobile. It's a useless, impractical invention, and in 2 days' time the man will be publicly stoned to death for his crimes against gravity. Not all sequels are heretical nonsense, however. Here's the man who invented breathing, which is the sequel to suffocating and dying a slow death. Even your parents are getting a sequel, Timmy. Their names are Rob and Jessica, and they'll be taking care of you once your original parents are sent back in time to fight a secret war for the government.
Какой ужас.
Sequels can be very fashionable. This young woman is wearing 5 shirts at once, which is the sequel to wearing 4 shirts at once. Look at Becky over there, wearing only 2 shirts at once. Get with the times, Becky. In fact, there is only one single thing in the world that isn't a sequel. It's this. We don't know what it is or why it exists, but it's the prequel from which all sequels are derived. And just like everything else, the Stanley Parable is getting a sequel too. We all know, of course, that it was your favorite game as a child. Don't you remember those long, lazy afternoons you spent playing the Stanley Parable? Watching your precious youth fritter away hour after hour. We've all wasted our childhoods in one way or another. And you were fortunate enough to get to waste yours on the Stanley Parable. But the Stanley Parable came out years ago, and you're not a child anymore. You're a man, which is like the sequel to a child. And as a man, you want manly things like taxes and cheating at baseball. You need a man's video game, Timmy. And that's why the Stanley Parable 2 will be perfect for you. It's as manly as video games can get. And if you don't believe me, let's look at the burly hunk of a man who's responsible for the game. Here he is, hard at work. His name is Gregory 8-Pack, and he's the cutting picture of raw, virile masculinity. Gregory is what we call the ideas guy, and he has the most important role on the team. The ideas guy tirelessly comes up with interesting concepts and then hands them off to the rest of the developers for the relatively simple job of turning those concepts into reality. For example, he's the one who picked up the phone and declared, "Someone ought to make a sequel to the Stanley Parable." Good work, Gregory. Go ahead and take the rest of the day off. With the hard part out of the way, work on the game can now begin. The game's developers must answer a simple question. What makes a sequel in the first place? Well, it's simple. Sequels are an opportunity to correct the mistakes of their predecessors. We've all made mistakes, and we've all caused harm to someone we love in order to cover up our mistakes. When developing this particular sequel, it's important to start by thinking, what mistakes did the original Stanley Parable make? Well, first off, most of the pornography in the original game was stolen or pirated. And it's time we paid the license pornography to the original Stanley sequel. It's important to start by thinking, what mistakes did the original Stanley Parable make? Well, first off, most of the pornography in the original game was stolen or pirated. And it's time we paid the licensing fees fair and square. Second, the Stanley Parable was catastrophic for this man named Leroy, whose personal information, including home address, social security number, and bank information, were all displayed prominently in multiple locations throughout the game. Although Leroy's money and identity were stolen, the fact remains that his personal information was the emotional core of the game, and absolutely vital to a nuanced understanding of the story. As reparation for the harm we caused him, the sequel will contain a brief and insincere apology to Leroy, tucked deep within the game where it will be difficult to find. Finally, the Stanley Parable made the mistake of leaking too many government secrets about the nature of the time wars. Without these intricate details of specific military tactics, the story is likely to make very little sense. But we've decided to remove them from the sequel in the interest of helping the state's efforts. We'll get to you yet, Time Dracula. Now then, it's time to set about constructing the Stanley Parable 2. Game development is a difficult and complex art, one which can only be fully understood by this race of hyper-intelligent child soldiers bred in laboratories. They begin by studying the original Stanley Parable. Here it is in its raw, untouched form, a specimen of technological perfection. Time to exploit it for profit. We begin by adding jokes. The Stanley Parable was most widely known for its stark lack of humor. Bucking all conventional industry wisdom, it was a bold artist statement that its developers stood firmly behind. But in 2022, it's impossible to reach even a single consumer of video games without jokes of some kind. So very well, jokes it'll be. During its development, over 500 kiloliters of comedy will be funneled directly into the core of the Stanley Parable 2, creating jobs for hundreds of machine operators and producing 30,000 tons of pollutant chemical byproduct, which will be pumped directly into local lakes, rivers, and beautiful nature reserves like these all over the country. Another common complaint of the Stanley Parable is that there wasn't enough gameplay. And so for the sequel, its developers have gone to great lengths to fix this problem. Here we can see gameplay being printed onto sheets. Every video game contains as many as 1,000 sheets of gameplay, and several of the largest games ever made contain close to 1,500. On mobile devices, the gameplay sheets have to be printed smaller. For the Stanley Parable 2, as many as 35 new gameplay sheets are being printed, each of which must be delicately massaged
Это игра слов про gameplay sheets.
by the hands of a child before being added into the game. This man is stealing gameplay sheets from the factory, which he likely intends to use for a personal project he's been developing in his spare time. A good public stoning will cure him of that inclination. Let's check on Gregory real quick. Ha! Still recovering from a hard day's work. Don't you move a muscle. Next up, it's time to blackmail the press. In a competitive market, blackmailing your local journalist can be one of the most effective methods of creating word-of-mouth buzz for your sequel. In fact, blackmail is the currency of social progress. From your neighborhood grocer to the teacher at your school to the man who helps you steal HBO, everyone responds to blackmail. And if you've never done it before, it's easy to practice at home on your friends and family. Simply follow the instructional pamphlet that your teacher hands out after the end of the film. And finally, there's one last tool at our disposal for making the sequel feel fresh and exciting, and that's packaging the game with collector's edition merchandise. If you order the Stanley Parable 2, you'll receive this cow's egg. A single egg will produce over 1,000 cows, which are, of course, the sequel to pigs. And there you have it. Everything there is to know about producing the Stanley Parable 2. Of course, you may know that there is also a game titled The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. So which game is the true sequel to the Stanley Parable? It's an excellent question, Billy. One which the child soldiers have been working around the clock to come up with an answer to. And after many weeks of diligent research, the conclusion they've reached is, who gives a shit? All that matters is that it's more content for you to cram down your insatiable gullet. You don't want thoughtful and nuanced answers to complex questions, Billy. You just want to eat bubble gum and cheated hopscotch. So get out there and consume. Do your civic duty and bully your parents into buying you every version of the Stanley Parable 2 on every platform. Tell your friends to bully their parents as well. It's through community efforts like these that the world comes together in harmony and connection. And it's only through this connection that we'll defeat Time Dracula once and for all. Don't let the time-traveling vampires win. Buy the Stanley Parable 2 and pledge to support all sequels for today, tomorrow, and into the great unknowable beyond.
В память Билли. 53-56. Чего? 3 года ему типа было. Да фак. Ну ладно, что ж. Ну да, да. Гэги, шутеечки. Хо-хо-хо. Нос, господа. Сейчас пойду. Not that boy, hello, привет, здравствуй. Украшение для офиса, успокаивающее ведро The Stanley Parable. Успокаивающее ведро. Кнопка с именем игрока, запустившего игру. Успокаивающее ведро. Забыл, что прям на русский, по-русски надписи. New feature. Успокаивающее ведро. Поехали.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket
Pain
is
in the ass.
perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
431, 436, 35.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Что ж, смех Хэвика, не думаю.
This is a bucket.
Dear God,
There's more.
no.
Dear God.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Team Fortress 2. Может быть, я не знаю. Решение для офиса бесконечная дыра.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Почему 12 степ низ? Типа приемная низ племянница? Не приемная, а как она? Двоюродная. Племянница, конечно.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Конечно. Все, теперь шайки Get Well Someday.
Actually, maybe I should have gone with... No. No, I've made my decision. We're moving on. You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Да. Все пышки уже потратил. Бесконечная шутка. Infinite Jest. Фига. You are here. Такая дерьмовая карта. Тут и буквы, и цифры перемешаны. Господа! Мы тут заканчиваем сегодня со Stanley Parable. Нужен перерывчик, мне нужно пойти приготовить поесть. А потом отправиться в герои. Ну и что-то, не знаю, сделать с носом. Принять героина там или типа того. Вот, в общем. Спасибо, что смотрели. Контента, судя по всему, тут еще навалом должно быть. В конце концов, это же отдельная новая часть. До концовки уже какой-то дойти хотя бы. Ну, мы сегодня уже доходили. Увидимся на героях. Минут, ну, типа через 40 где-то. Вот. Также сегодня у нас удивительный мир Гамбола. А Stanley Parable будет, видимо, на следующей неделе. Посмотрим. Вот. Спасибо, что смотрели. Пара-па-па-пи-пу-пам. Пи-па-пу-пи-да-пу-пи-пам. Па-пу-пи-пам.